My pregnant sister demanded I give her my car, then my family tried to steal it while I slept. Now, they've turned everyone against me after I went no contact. I'm 25F, living on my own for the past 4 years. I work full-time as a graphic designer, and I've spent the last couple of years working hard, budgeting, and saving to finally buy a reliable used car. It's nothing fancy, just a dark gray Honda Civic, but it's in great condition and gets me everywhere I need to go. That car represents freedom, hard work, and finally being able to support myself without relying on anyone. Now, my older sister, Lena, 28F, is currently 7 months pregnant with her second child. She and her fiancé live about 30 minutes away from me. Lena has always been, let's say, entitled. Growing up, everything was always about her. If she wanted something, my parents would bend over backwards to give it to her, even if it came at my expense. When she got pregnant the first time, it got worse. She was treated like a queen, and the same thing is happening again with this pregnancy. Lena's car is a beat-up old minivan from over a decade ago that's constantly breaking down. It's had problems for years, bad brakes, engine trouble, the AC barely works, but instead of fixing it or saving up for a better one, she just complains and blames everyone else. She says being pregnant makes it too hard to take public transportation, and with a toddler already at home, she needs a dependable vehicle. All of that would be understandable if she wasn't now demanding my car. A couple weeks ago, she called me out of the blue and launched into a speech about how hard things have been for her lately. I thought she was just venting until she flat out said, "I think it would make sense if I just use your car for a while. You live alone, you don't have kids, and it's not like you need it as much as I do." I honestly thought she was joking. When I laughed awkwardly and said, "Wait, are you serious?" She got offended. She said she wouldn't even ask if it wasn't a matter of safety for her unborn child, and that as her sister, I should want to help her in her time of need. I told her that I rely on my car to get to work every day and that giving it up just isn't possible. Her response? "Well, maybe you should work from home for a while. You're always on your laptop anyway." I hung up soon after that because I was too stunned to keep arguing. Later that night, I started getting texts from our mom, basically saying I should be more understanding because Lena is pregnant and struggling, and family helps family. My dad didn't text me directly, but apparently he told my mom that he'd be ashamed if I let my own sister suffer like this when I have the means to help. It's like they've all lost their minds. This is my car. I paid for it with my own money. And now they're acting like I'm a monster because I won't hand it over like a spare t-shirt. I had no idea that saying no would trigger this much drama, but I was about to find out just how far my family would go to take what they thought they were entitled to. A few days after that first phone call, Lena showed up at my apartment completely unannounced. She had her toddler on her hip, her fiancé waiting in the car, and this look on her face like she was doing me a huge favor by even being there. She didn't even say hello before launching into it. "Look, I talked to mom and dad, and we all agree this is the best solution. Just let me take the car for a few months. You don't drive it every single day, and I'll make sure it comes back in one piece." I blinked at her, totally thrown. "You're seriously here to ask for my car again?" "No," she said. "I'm here to get it." She actually tried handing my own keys, my spare set, which to this day, I have no idea how she got. I snatched them out of her hand and asked if she'd gone through my stuff. She rolled her eyes and said mom had a copy, and she just borrowed it. I told her flat out no. The car stays with me. That's when she completely lost it. She started yelling that I was being heartless and selfish, that I didn't understand how hard it was being a mother, and that I was prioritizing convenience over a child's safety. Her toddler started crying, and her fiancé honked the horn from the driveway like this whole thing was taking too long. I kept my voice calm, but I told her again that I need my car for work. I reminded her that I live alone, don't have any backup, and can't afford to just Uber everywhere. And it's not like I live in a city where public transportation is convenient or even safe at certain hours. She sneered at that and said, "You're just being difficult. If I had a sister who was struggling this much, I'd do anything to help her." Then she gave me the ultimate guilt trip. "I'm carrying your niece, and you're acting like a stranger." I just stood there stunned. She really thought throwing pregnancy and family around would magically make me hand over a car I spent years saving for. Eventually, she stormed off, shouting that I was on my own now, and that the whole family would see who I really was. And she wasn't kidding. Later that night, my phone started blowing up with messages from relatives, some I hadn't talked to in months. My cousin messaged me, "Wow, I heard you left your pregnant sister stranded. Classy." My aunt commented on one of my social media posts with a vague passive-aggressive remark. Some people only care about things, not people. My mom called again the next day and left a voicemail that started sweet and ended furious. She said Lena was exhausted, scared, and doing her best with limited resources, and that I had no idea what kind of stress she was under. Then she said something that made my stomach turn. "If something happens to that baby because you couldn't find it in your heart to help, that's on you." I don't even have words for how messed up that is. It's like they've all joined some kind of cult where Lena is the messiah, and I'm the devil for daring to say no. And the worst part? This wasn't even the end. It was just the beginning. After that voicemail from my mom, I knew things weren't going to blow over anytime soon. But I didn't expect the sheer level of guilt tripping and manipulation that came next. It felt like my entire family had declared war on me for choosing to keep what was mine. Within a week, I'd been effectively ostracized. Group chats I was in with extended family went quiet or suddenly removed me. No one invited me to Sunday dinner anymore. Even my youngest cousin's birthday party, which I'd helped plan, went on without me. I found out about it through pictures on social media. No one even told me the date changed. What really broke me was when my grandmother, my sweet, kind-hearted grandma who always baked cookies for us as kids, called me and scolded me. She said she raised us to look out for each other, and she didn't recognize the selfish woman I'd become. When I tried to calmly explain my side, she cut me off and said, "Your sister's growing a life inside of her, and you're worried about gas money." Every attempt I made to explain the situation was met with silence or snide comments. My dad finally reached out, but only to say that he was deeply disappointed in me and that families make sacrifices, even big ones. Not once did anyone ask why I was saying no. No one considered what I might be going through or whether I could even afford to go without my car. The thing is, I don't make a huge salary. I work freelance on contracts, and I need my car to get to meetings, do deliveries, and attend photo shoots. Losing my car would directly impact my ability to pay rent. But to them, that didn't matter. All that mattered was Lena's pregnancy and how I refused to step up. Then came the more subtle attacks. One day, I found my tires slightly deflated. A coincidence? Maybe, but it happened twice. Another day, I got a DM from someone I barely knew, apparently a friend of Lena's, telling me I was heartless and not fit to be anyone's sister. That's how far the gossip had spread. One of the most disturbing things happened when I ran into my aunt at the grocery store. She stopped her cart right in front of me, looked me up and down with pure disgust, and said, "I hope one day you have a daughter, and I hope she never has to beg the way Lena has to." Then she walked away. I stood there frozen in the frozen food aisle, my hands shaking. That was the moment I realized they weren't just mad. They were trying to punish me, to shame me into submission. It wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about control. I started feeling paranoid all the time. Every time my phone buzzed, I braced for another message telling me I was worthless. I barely slept, checking my car constantly to make sure it hadn't been keyed or towed. I avoided driving anywhere I might run into a relative. My world was shrinking, and the one place I thought I was safe, my home, no longer felt secure. That's when I started wondering if maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe I should have just given her the car for a couple weeks. Maybe that would have kept the peace. Maybe if I just kept my mouth shut, I wouldn't be the villain in everyone's story. But deep down, I knew the truth. This was never about temporary help. Lena had no intention of giving it back, and my family had no intention of respecting my boundaries. They just saw me as a resource to be used, until I said no. And for the first time in my life, I was about to find out what happens when you set a boundary with people who've never had to hear the word no. About a week after the grocery store incident, things finally seemed to go quiet. No angry texts, no cryptic Facebook posts, no surprise drop-ins. For a brief moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, everyone had finally calmed down and realized how out of line they were. I couldn't have been more wrong. It happened on a Thursday night. I'd stayed up late working on a design project that was due the next day. Around 2 a.m., I shut my laptop and started getting ready for bed. As I was brushing my teeth, I caught a flicker of movement outside my bathroom window. My apartment's on the ground floor, and my car is parked just a few steps away from my front door in a private lot. At first, I thought maybe it was a stray cat, but then I heard the unmistakable beep of a car unlocking. My stomach dropped. I rushed to the living room, pulled the blinds back, and there it was. My car's headlights flashed once, signaling it had just been unlocked. Someone was crouched near the driver's door. I threw on a hoodie, grabbed my phone, and bolted outside. As I got closer, I saw exactly who it was. Lena's fiancé, holding my car door open. And standing just a few feet away, holding my spare key, was my mom. I couldn't even speak. My voice came out as a strangled, "What the hell are you doing?" They both froze. Lena's fiancé stammered something about borrowing the car and making it easier for everyone. My mom, on the other hand, had zero shame. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "We didn't want to wake you. This is what should have happened weeks ago." I told them to back away immediately or I'd call the police. Mom crossed her arms. "You wouldn't really do that to your own family?" I raised my phone and said, "Try me." They stood there for a second, testing me, but I wasn't bluffing. I had 911 dialed in, my thumb hovering over the call button. Eventually, Lena's fiancé muttered something under his breath and slammed the car door shut. My mom glared at me like I was the one who broke her trust. Then they walked back to their car and drove off, slowly, like they wanted to make sure I was watching. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, I changed all the locks in my apartment and paid to have my car rekeyed. I don't care how much it cost. The fact that they felt entitled to my car and comfortable enough to try taking it in the middle of the night told me everything I needed to know. Later that day, Lena called me. I let go to voicemail. Her message was wild. She said she couldn't believe I threatened to call the cops on our own mother. She said I humiliated her fiancé. Then came the real kicker. You brought this on yourself. All you had to do was say yes. Like that justified any of it. A few hours later, she posted on Facebook. Something vague and dramatic. Some people only love you when they can use you. Just remember who was there when you needed help. And who locked the door instead. Cue the sympathy comments. Cue the flying monkeys. Cousins I hadn't seen in years were suddenly popping up to defend her, calling her strong, resilient, and too forgiving. Meanwhile, I was still shaking, still checking my windows every 10 minutes, still locking every door behind me twice. But the worst part wasn't even the attempted theft. It was that no one in my family, no one, reached out to apologize. Not even a half-hearted, maybe we went too far. Instead, I got silence. Or worse, passive-aggressive messages about how hurt Lena was and how I needed to make things right. Apparently, I was the problem for not letting them steal from me while I was sleeping. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just a disagreement. This wasn't about a car. This was about control, entitlement, and a complete lack of respect. And I was done. After the attempted theft, I went full no contact. I blocked Lena, my mom, and anyone else who had tried to guilt-trip me or defend what happened that night. I even changed my phone number and updated my social media privacy settings. I told my landlord everything and asked if I could break my lease early, and thankfully, he was incredibly understanding after I showed him the police report I ended up filing. Not because I wanted anyone arrested, but because I needed documentation in case something worse happened. Cutting them off felt like ripping off a part of myself. These were the people who raised me, the people who were supposed to have my back. But instead, they treated me like a walking ATM machine who didn't get a say in how my own property was used. And when I dared to say no, they tried to take it anyway. There was a part of me that expected some kind of apology once the dust settled. A moment of self-awareness. Maybe a message like, I didn't realize how far we took it. I'm sorry, but no. Instead, I got radio silence. Or worse, manipulation. One of my cousins, who hadn't spoken to me in years, suddenly messaged me on Instagram. Not to check in, not to see if I was okay, but to say, it's sad how easily you gave up on family. Lena just had a breakdown from all the stress. Hope you're happy. That message hit me like a punch to the gut. And I almost responded, almost tried to defend myself. But then I realized that's exactly what they wanted. For me to come crawling back, to apologize, to beg for forgiveness over something I didn't even do wrong. I wasn't going to play that game anymore. I started seeing a therapist after that night. The anxiety, the guilt, the second-guessing, it was all piling up. My therapist helped me see that this wasn't an isolated incident. It was a pattern. Growing up, Lena always got whatever she wanted, and I was expected to just be the good sister. If I pushed back, I was selfish. If I said no, I was cold. But this wasn't a tantrum. This was theft, manipulation, emotional abuse. And I was done making excuses for it. I still get updates from mutual friends. Lena's pregnancy is going fine, the baby's healthy, and apparently she started a GoFundMe for a new car. I didn't donate. And when someone asked me if I felt guilty about that, I said, no. I feel relieved. Relieved that I said no. Relieved that I didn't let guilt back me into a corner. Relieved that, for the first time in my life, I put myself first. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. There are moments where I miss having a family to call on holidays. I miss having a mom who didn't see me as a tool. I miss the fantasy version of them. The one I kept in my head for years, where we were close and supportive and cared about each other more than just what we could get from each other. That version never existed. And coming to terms with that has been the hardest part of all. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe years from now, things will change. Maybe Lena will grow up. Maybe my parents will realize what they lost. Or maybe they won't. But for now, I'm focused on rebuilding, on healing, on reclaiming the peace I lost when I tried to please everyone but myself. They made their choice when they tried to take what was mine without asking. And I made mine when I finally said, enough. It's been almost 2 months since everything went down. In that time, I've gone through every stage of grief. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Yeah, I felt them all. But the one emotion I didn't expect to feel was peace. I no longer jump at every phone notification. I don't wake up in a cold sweat thinking someone's outside, trying to take my car. My apartment, for the first time in a long while, feels like mine. Safe, quiet, uncomplicated. I've gotten used to the silence. The holidays are coming up, and I know I won't get an invite. No texts, no calls, no fake "we love you" cards with passive-aggressive messages scribbled inside. And weirdly, I'm okay with that. For years, I bent over backwards to keep the peace in a family that never once prioritized mine. I excused so much. Lena's entitlement, my parents' favoritism, the subtle digs, the pressure to always be there. even when no one showed up for me. I kept telling myself, that's just how families are. But now I know, that's just how dysfunctional families are. I've had to redefine what family means to me. Turns out, family isn't who shares your DNA. It's who respects your boundaries. It's who shows up when you're struggling. Not to take, but to support. It's the friend who drops off groceries when you're sick. The coworker who defends you in a meeting. The neighbor who keeps an eye on your place when you're out of town. I have that kind of family now. Small, maybe, but real. I haven't spoken to Lena since the night she and Mom tried to take my car. From what I've heard, she ended up getting a cheap second-hand vehicle through some donation group. Good for her. I hope she takes care of it better than she took care of the one she tried to steal. And honestly, I hope she's a good mom. I really do. Not because she deserves my forgiveness, but because her kids deserve better than what she's been giving. As for my parents, I've started to accept that they may never apologize. They may never admit they were wrong. They've painted me as the black sheep, and that's a role they'll probably keep assigning me for years to come. But I'm not playing along anymore. I've started writing about my experience anonymously online, and the responses have been overwhelming. People from all over sharing similar stories of family betrayal, manipulation, guilt. I'm not alone in this. And if you've read this far, maybe you aren't either. Saying no to your family doesn't make you cruel. Setting boundaries doesn't make you selfish. Protecting your peace doesn't make you the villain. It makes you free. So if anyone out there needs to hear it, you're allowed to say no, even to blood, especially to blood. And if you were in my shoes, if your pregnant sister demanded your car, your family turned on you, and they literally tried to steal it while you were asleep, what would you have done? Am I really the selfish one here?